Hi everyone, welcome to today's video. For today, I'm going to be showing you and reviewing and rating all of my September reads. I do have... Anyways, I do have two on Kindle that I will also talk about, but I just thought I would show you guys and kind of give a more in-depth review than what I have in previous videos. But I have my little reading journal here that I will go through for the first book that I read in September, and that would be The Housemate by Freida McFadden. So this book was so good. I really loved this book. I think it wasn't slow. Like, you didn't have to get into it like some books where it's like, oh, I gotta wait 50 to 100 pages to get into this book. But this one, you get in it right away. The plot twists are crazy. There's no plot holes. All of my questions that I had reading throughout the book were answered by the end of the book, so that's really great because sometimes there'll be plot holes or I'm like, well, what happened to this? So I definitely think that you should read this. I think I gave it a 5-star. And yeah, I mean, I hate giving half ratings, but if I'm really being honest, it would be like a 4.5 to 5. It was a 5 for me, but I was like, wait, I don't know, that's so confusing. Rating to me, it's more about my overall experience reading the book, not so much literally don't know what I'm saying. I rated this a 5. I don't know. People might disagree with me. I will read The Housemate's Secret this month in October, just because I want to see how it intertwines with this book. But overall, very good book. You should read it and then rate it. I don't know. Okay, next is Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney. Now, I rated this a 3-star. I think it's a valid rating for me because I was so, I don't want to say bored. I wasn't bored, but it was just it took a lot to get to where we were going. I remember being halfway through this book and being like, okay, well, when does it start to pick up? I will say with this book though, you do get all the questions answered. The plot twist is pretty crazy. I wish it would have there would have been another plot twist as well, but overall I think that this one was good. If you like thrillers and you like mystery, give this a read, but I just rated a 3-star because it was a little slow for me, but still good. The next book I read last month was Career Lessons from Mentors to Tormentors by Joe Pesca, which is my dad, but I am biased, so I'm giving this book a 5-star. I do think it was really good, even if you don't know my dad or not really into business sort of books. I still think that you would like this book because it's not so much how to be the best business person you can, or you need to do this, this, and this to get to where I am. It definitely wasn't like that. There was just stories based off of certain people he's met through his industry and what he has learned specifically from them, or just told a funny story he had with them and then the lesson that he got from it. One lesson is, this is on chapter 9, at the end of chapter 9 on page 34, it says, "When times are tough, there are better days ahead. When times are good, save some money, as nothing lasts forever." I think that lesson, along with that little piece of advice, is really good to keep in mind. And there are plenty of other career lessons and advice throughout this book. So I definitely think you should read this. I will have this linked down below in my description box if you want to check it out. That would be greatly appreciated. But no, this isn't sponsored. But I think that it was great reading this about my dad and kind of going through a time in his life where I wasn't even in existence yet. So I think that was really cool. The next book I read was You Are a Mogul: How to Do the Impossible, Do It Yourself, and Do It Now by Tiffany Pham. And if I thought Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney was hard to get through, I had another thing coming with this book. I don't like the whole self-help, here's what you need to do to be the most successful person you can be, because I don't think it applies to everyone. I think everyone has such a unique path in life that someone being like, well, if you just do this, this, and this, then why can't you be where I am right now? And it's like, well, we can't. I think the advice that she gave can be good if you are wanting to go into something very similar as what the author did. I do think that she had so many connections to get to where she was, so it's not as attainable to the everyday working class person just because she was like, I don't want to say she was handed what she got, because she definitely wasn't. She did work very hard, but she just had the connections already. So I think this book, if you are already an established career person and you know what you want to do and you have those connections, then you could definitely read this book and you would get good advice from her. But I think it's hard for the everyday person to kind of relate to what she's doing. I don't know. Not to be a hater, but anyways. I rated this a 2-star. I know that's kind of harsh, but I just don't know if like nonfiction is my thing or anything. I like to read to go into a different world and to just kind of read about fiction. I don't know. This is just like, here's my life story and how I did what I did. So maybe I'm just being a hater, but whatever. 2 stars. The next book I read for September was Normal People. Now, my rating for this is between a 4 and a 4.5. And I really liked this book. I finished it in one sitting. I watched the show. I did a video about this, but I watched the show, and the show was so comparable to the book that it just made it so much better. Because the visuals were like everything I could have pictured in my head. But this is very much a character-driven book, and there's like little to no plot. This is just about how 2 people grow and develop with each other and by themselves, and then with each other again, and then just the paths crossing and going away from each other. But this book was frustrating, of course, because there was so little communication between Marian and Connell, but that's the point of the book. So it's hard to be like, I hated it because of the lack of communication, when it's like, that's the entirety of the book, like the entire premise of the book. So if you get frustrated really easily with books because you're like, just talk, like use your words, don't read this book. But I really liked it. I thought it was really great. This was like, I think this was one of the first like character driven books I read, and I honestly didn't think I was gonna like it because I was like, well, what's gonna happen? Like, what are they gonna do? But plenty happens in this book, and I think it's very good. So, and if you don't want to read the book, then watch the show. I think the show is a really great adaptation of the book. It's very similar. It goes along really, really well, like with the timeline. So if you don't want to read the book, just watch the show and you'll get the same gist of it. So the next 2 books actually I read on my Kindle, and they were giving this same exact book. So the first one was Our Preseason by S.C. Kate. I want to rate it like a 3 or a 3.5 star, just because I don't know if I'm like so burnt out on like hockey books, but they all just follow the same premise. I have like no other thoughts other than it was just very similar to other ones that I've read before. I do like how they weren't in college, because I feel like so many hockey books is set in college, so I really enjoyed that aspect, but I have really no other thoughts. And then the last book I read was Fault Line by Key Stevens, and I have even less thoughts about that book. Yeah, I don't know. That's like it's a 3-star for me. I had high hopes for it just because like everything sounded so appealing, like Academic Rivals, and I think it just fell a little bit short. It was still good. If you wanted to read it, I would recommend it, but I don't know. I think I'm just so jaded to hockey romances now that it's like, okay, just another one, you know? That's like the worst reviews on those 2 books ever, but what do you want me to say? They're very, very similar, except this one, Fault Line, does take place in college, but I don't know. If I were to recommend any books from the 7 that I read, I would recommend these 3. Normal People, The Housemaid, and Career Lessons. They're all blue, but I think that these are like my top choices of the month. So check out any of these. Thank you so much for watching today's video and listening to me review all of my September reads. But I know some people do like what I read this month and what I'm gonna read next month. I never plan out books that I'm gonna read, just because I guess I'm a mood reader, so I'm just like, oh, this one looks good right now, let me read this. So, but if there's any recommendations you guys have, leave those in the comments. You can like and subscribe, and I'll see you next video.